Yeah, how crazy is it that it was the brainwashing was working on me, which is just insane.
Welcome to the Success Times Happiness podcast, a platform dedicated to engaging discussions with inspiring individuals aimed at nurturing personal development. I'm Richard Thompson, your host, a father, entrepreneur, world champion Ultraman, and passionate about all things high performance. Our mission is to empower both ourselves and you to unlocking our fullest potential, recognizing that this life is no dress rehearsal. While I may not have all the answers, this show serves as our collective journey to uncover them. Today's episode, I sit down with Sheridan Joy Austin. Sheridan is so many things: a wife, a mother of two, corporate speaker, qualified holistic nutritionist, and businesswoman. She's the founder and owner of Foraged For You. In this episode, we explore the world of clean eating and clean living and the creation and success of Foraged as her business. It's an inspiring and fun-loving chat, and whether you're at the beginning of the health journey or deep in it, this episode is the business. Let's get into it. Sheridan Joy Austin, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Pleasure. It's lovely to be here.
Now, what does a day look like for you? Run me through it.
What kind of day?
the normal day, not the perfect day, let's call it.
So when I can choose to go to work, as we were saying the other day, my morning routine isn't really a morning routine, and it hasn't been for a good few years now since I've had my kids. So if I didn't have babies, it would look a lot different and it look a lot more health orientated. However, in reality, it is getting up when they get up and giving them lots of cuddles and lots of love and prioritizing their breakfast. Yeah, something really nourishing, something rich in fat and protein, and then I will leave some for me because I feel like my nervous system can digest a little bit better after they've left for the day. So then I spend some time with them, take them to daycare, have a sigh of relief, and then do my movement. And then I will nourish myself. So again, with lots of fats and proteins, I will every day have a bulletproof coffee, and I have for many years now. It's just the way my body really loves to have coffee. That's a coffee with organic coffee beans, ghee, gelatin, and that's it. I used to add coconut oil, but I just keep it as ghee. Blend it up, and I really like that. Then I will dive into work, whatever that might be. So checking in with the team, and then I'll hopefully through the day get in my creative head, because I'm sure many people know, but it's really hard to access that creative side of your brain when you're in the stress mode. So I really find towards the end of the day, I'm much more creative and I can enter that space. So I often escape anyone to do with the team and go in my own head, and whether it be create a recipe, whether it be write some information to share, whether it be learn more information about, whatever I'm learning at the time. So whether it be a particular ingredient, I feel like that's my groove. I just go, okay, I'm going to hide away now. See you later. Then I might do a little sauna if I'm lucky. That's my ideal situation. We've got one at home now, so I feel very lucky to have that. Then I get stuck into cooking dinner. Yeah.
And what time's bed? What's the bedtime?
For them?
Yeah.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so that's cute. That's generally a cute time. It's becoming cuter. It used to be just, I guess, what every parent would say, like chaos time. But I feel like it's getting cuter and cuter now that they're more manageable, and it's more of a nice, peaceful time of night.
How old are your kids?
3 and 5.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's just like becoming a little bit easier, right? There's not as much scream, crying.
Not as much resistance.
Exactly. They're so active. So often between finishing work and all my time and then them coming home, we often will go for a walk or ride or something at the sundown, and I'll be running back inside, flipping the meat or whatever I'm cooking and running back outside and juggling that. And then, bedtime, and then we'll have a cup of tea and clock off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really lovely. I would position you as a thought leader when it comes to clean eating, clean living. And I'm intrigued about Foraged For You and that business of yours, which we'll talk about. But maybe explain how that clean lifestyle, call it as an umbrella, how that found you, how you found it, and how that's developed in your life.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it finding me, which I guess it did because that was such an important pivotal time in my life. So I was sitting in a seminar and another leader in the field called Cindy O'Meara, she was doing a talk and I was working for her at the time. She actually poached me from a little cafe and I was studying nutrition at the time.
Right.
And at that point I was definitely being brainwashed to think the more mainstream way of thinking. And thankfully I learnt differently, so I'm so grateful for that because I certainly was starting to gravitate towards the margarines, the lower fat.
The typical triangle, right?
Exactly, which is
fats is right at the top and huge amount of carbs at the bottom. Yep.
Yeah, how crazy is it that it was the brainwashing was working on me, which is just insane. So I was probably about, probably about 20 at this point. Still studying, however, learning, really intrigued in my own body, but learning from university predominantly. We did this thing which I do in seminars now, which is scan from the top of your head down to the tip of your toe and what is your body trying to communicate with you, listen to everything, whether it be a headache, body ache, migraine, unexplained fatigue, sinus issues, because I actually always had tissues with me.
Right.
Definitely don't anymore. It's more normal for me not to unless I've got a cold. However, I was suffering every single day, but along with chest infections, skin rashes, hormonal issues, extreme fatigue, I would have to nap every single day. Asthma, I had asthma puffers. I was always on antihistamines. Couldn't go anywhere without an antihistamine, basically.
And I guess at that point, in that line of thinking, there's symptoms that can be remedied by another level of medication, right? Which I don't necessarily want this episode to belittle the medical fraternity because there are relevant.
Yeah. It's about
important,
joining the two or learning what you can from
what is in your control, right? And also, and not that you don't just put a Band-Aid. You don't need to put a Band-Aid on everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that was me at 19, 20-ish. Imagine how much medication I'd be on today if I hadn't learnt any different. And today I have no medication, 0. So, but I was on the pill as well. So that was to regulate pain during menstruation. And so I was sitting there and I just went, oh my gosh, I can live without symptoms. What do you mean? It is just wild to think that was the first time that I had my eyes opened of going, it's not normal. And if I don't listen to these things and I keep masking them, it can turn into something else. So that was my real, okay, well, here we go. And I guess I'm the sort of person, if I make a decision, then that's what's happening. If I'm really set on that, I guess it goes back to even I sucked my thumb religiously as a child and it was no, on my 7th, yes, I know that's quite old, 7th birthday, that's it.
17?
7.
Oh, 7. Right, sorry.
My 7th birthday, I'm stopping, that's it. And I did. I just went, boop. It's when I decided.
Under your own volition?
Pardon?
Under your own volition?
I'm sure there was discussions.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you in your mind, you're okay.
Yeah.
Now it's time.
Exactly. And it's you never go back. So I guess that's really helpful with certain things. And I guess that's the development of Foraged For You as well. It was just well, this is what's happening. It was an out-of-body experience of creation there. But so that's when it found me. And then I started to heal myself in various different ways. And fast forward probably a year or so, I guess I just was I'm not taking any medication. I just got to start listening. So then I started healing and finding different modalities to help me through my own issues, and then was oh my gosh, I am a normal human being and I'm at my full capacity now and I feel energized. I no longer need to nap. I no longer get random histamine rashy outbreaks, reacting to the whole world.
Yeah.
It made me just, I guess, very passionate because then I could get my family possibly to live symptom-free and beyond, whoever would want to listen, really.
Did your psychology change through that, your general psychology? And the way you, let's say, talk to yourself or viewed the world? From when you improved your health, does your mind follow?
Does. However, thankfully, that wasn't one of my main issues.
Okay.
However, clarity, huge. I was constantly airy-fairy, just like I was so foggy. Like I was full of the fog. So in that sense, I was happier, more energized, clearer. I guess that way you can be more engaged with whoever you're talking to. But I would say other people probably notice things in other people more. So, for example, my husband, Sean, he was really resistant to change, but slowly over the process, he would start to eat more and more like me. And then he realized, oh, wow, okay, I don't actually need to have painkillers every day.
Yeah.
Going back to the psychology of things, like what I saw in him was like quite drastic in the sense of I felt like he had a new personality. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. Like you actually have energy and drive and you're a bit more funny and like blah, blah, blah. Like,
The clarity as well, right?
Yeah. It's the beauty of nourishment and lack of inflammation. Like that's what's going on. But also, better functioning gut to produce better neurotransmitters for your brain actually to feel the happiness because, and it goes back to some people just have no idea of their full capacity and what their true personality is like, their true body.
Yeah, I love that. And I reckon, as I said to you, like I'm driven and have been for so long, ever since my early 20s, is to try to impress on others. And for me, as the sample size of one, of trying to find your highest potential. And it comes back from me to think that we've only got one opportunity in this life, so let's really make the most of it. Yeah.
I love the saying, how you live every day is how you live your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of scares me a little bit
too.
Yeah. Because my day that I explained in the beginning, I didn't go bungee jumping or anything fun.
But I like the idea, and I probably don't look at it as much as I should, in the sense that a really important piece of finding your potential in the day, the week, the month, the year, and the decade, or whatever life comes back to how you feel, your food choices, your living choices, and how clean you can make that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So then you've gone through that experience in your early 20s. Are you full noise into that, or is it a progressional for you? And then to the people around you, are you?
Weird.
It must be.
Yes.
But it must be frustrating even now, right? To go, your experience shows that if you do X and Y, you'll have no fog, you'll have no inflammation, you'll have no medication, richer, better life, a better platform to leverage off to achieve something amazing. When you have people in your life who don't do that, how does that feel for you?
In the beginning, it was really challenging. It was frustrating to witness others. So I guess you could look at this in two ways, because you could look at, with your question, whether I'm the weirdo or how I perceive others. Which one should I go first? How do I cope with how other people perceive me?
Let's go there.
Yeah? Okay. So I was definitely judged heavily because I went from someone that loved Fantails, Red Rooster, like flavour wraps, at Red Rooster were my favourite.
Fantails,
Fantails I was obsessed with.
That's the lolly of choice?
Yeah.
God.
Chewy, caramelly, chocolatey,
with
bit
a little,
melty, but still like solid.
With some sort of celebrity bio. Yeah, sure.
Went from that kind of person to zero.
Yeah.
I would still socialise. I love like doing very normal things. Definitely don't like missing out on anything. So I would just bring my habits and choices everywhere, but not in an invasive way. I would never hold judgment of others because I have a lot of respect on where people are at in their journey. However, for me, like I definitely had people try and make me feel really down, like really belittle me about my food choices, which is absurd to think about. Right now, like they all ask me for advice. Like they all eat the way I do now and they all understand. I mean, not as crazy as me, but to a degree.
Yeah.
Like if someone is being judged, just know that they haven't learnt yet. They don't understand yet, but they will.
Yeah.
The more you surrender to settling for someone else's needs and not your own, the more you're giving them permission to continue with their shitty habits, right? And they're not being inspired, but also it makes it harder for you the next time you're in a social situation like that, because you're just faced with the exact same problem and you haven't learned how to deal with it yet. So if you just step back within yourself, in your mind, and go like, actually, I'm really confident in my choices and I feel really happy about them, and I know tomorrow will be such a better day if I do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Then it's just going, cool, that's what's happening. And you'll realize how easy it was. And then you'll be like, cool, I can do that again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
You still create you still have and remain in the same circle of friends. So I see a lot of people going like, who you surround yourself with is the only thing that matters, and it's a huge reflection on you. Well, no, I actually beg to differ, because if you are relying on other people to make you be who you want to be, then there's something missing there. I think you within yourself should have the confidence to make your own decisions, and who surrounds you, they just serve you different things. Like, I have besties that love McDonald's. I have besties that eat terribly and vape. Like, but I have the best relationship with them. They make me laugh so much, and they are like my biggest hype people. I say hype people because it's boys and girls. And so why would I go, well, you do that, so I'm actually not going to be friends with you? That's just absurd. I think it's really a beautiful thing to be so confident within your decision, just like they are with vaping, and go, I do me, you do you. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Like, you can be so different.
It comes obviously naturally to you, or let's say, for a lack of a better word, easy for you because of those food choices and that lifestyle choice, because it is your truth, your passion, your direction.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying, everything you stand for, being so positive, right? And
but how do we make it positive for someone else that is just like, what the heck do I do?
Yeah, like, you know, and I agree that if you promise to someone, look, you can have no fog, you'll have all the energy in the world, you'll feel
they'll probably
amazing.
still go out and eat their habitual foods. Yeah, and their comfort.
That's their zone, right?
Yeah.
So what's the best way?
Okay, so I think there's learning that needs to be done. Like, I personally find it's so easy to be told, hey, you need to avoid this. But if you don't have any education as to why, it won't compute, and it will be really hard to execute. I always like to use the gluten as an example. And the reason why I'm using it as an example is because it's one of the most popular foods out there, right? And we're so encouraged to eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between. However, what we have done to it as humans, like, we've chemically hybridized the wheat grain. And so that means it's completely different to what it used to be to what it is now. So there's a lot more people that are intolerant to it. So it went from these wheat grain called Emma wheat and or einkorn. So they're two different grains, but they're the most traditional, to today being Triticum estivum. Genetically completely different. They look completely different, perform different, even like in baking, perform different. This is across the world. It's really popular now because it's so easy to grow. Anyway, so people now find they're really reactive to it, but it's also due to not fermenting it. So that also makes it a lot harder to digest and blah, blah, blah. When we know that, we go, so going back to the education piece, someone could be told you need to eat gluten-free and full stop. Like, yeah, cool. What? What do you mean? Why? So it's really nice to go, okay, so it's actually so different, but also now it's being linked to over 50 autoimmune diseases. So if I don't want to get an autoimmune disease, because once you've got an autoimmune disease, it's harder to calm the body down. It's possible, but it's really hard to calm that immune system down to stop firing at its own self, because that's what's happening in an autoimmune disease. Right. So, for example, Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, it's your body's attacking different parts of the body depending on the autoimmune disease. So when we go, whoa, that very popular food is linked to over 50 autoimmune disease and beyond, it's like, okay, so if autoimmune diseases for a lot of people just pop out of nowhere, if I don't want that, if I don't want to set myself up for this human experiment that's currently rolling out every single day, then I'm going to opt out of that human experiment and I'm going to go back to what we were doing, I'm going to say 100-ish years ago, and because it was developed in the 1970s. I'm frowning because I'm like, how old am I now? Like, been talking about this for a long time.
Older than we need to be. I wasn't obviously aware of
that story. Yeah.
The symptom piece that gets me. So if I was to eat that type of gluten that's prevalent everywhere, as you say, and my arm's going to fall off, then I'm going, yeah, sure. But then how do you convince, like people say, and I've heard something, there's an enormous percentage of gluten intolerance that exists. Presumably a lot of the people don't know that they're intolerant or that they don't know that they've got the symptom.
Yeah, so I guess it's about going, well, do you have symptoms?
Exactly right. So how do we know that?
Yeah, okay. Well, you literally need to do the scan from the top of your head down to the tip of your toe and really tune in. But also if you're feeling like, I don't know, like if I feel okay, like my version of okay.
How long would we want to be on the gluten for this instance, the gluten-free experiment to then A/B test how it feels without it?
I would give yourself 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, that all? That's all?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, like if you've got Hashimoto's, which is the thyroid autoimmune disease, like the unfortunate fact is that it can take up to 6 months for your antibodies to calm down. So I'd say Hashimoto's and things like rheumatoid arthritis are just such sneaky autoimmune diseases, and also multiple sclerosis is really sneaky autoimmune disease too. What I mean by sneaky is that it can kind of feel like it's popping up out of nowhere. So, for example, this is so doom and gloom, and I hate talking so negative like this, but some people that progress to multiple sclerosis, for example, they might be writing and then their hand just kind of like gives way.
Right.
So it's just like not working. Their brain to hand connection is just like not functioning properly. Try and catch your body before that. So whether it literally might be anxiety, depression, skin rashes, gut issues, sleeplessness, fatigue. So all of that is not only inflammation being triggered within your body and you're getting that symptom, but it also could be like severe nutrient deficiencies, which can also, of course, be an issue in itself. But yeah, we can get to that. Does that make sense?
And it's about putting in even if you did a 2 or 3 week trial, let's say, of the gluten-free food, I guess just by doing that, it's giving you intention of putting food
that might be better
as a priority.
Yes.
Your choices, not just eating the same and doing the same thing. And I know you said the other day, which I found very interesting, about how humans put food.
Did we say it?
Yeah. Like I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. So like humans are the only species on the planet that puts food last. So we're the only species that doesn't prioritize food and the consumption of it, the
quality of it,
the getting of it, the preparing of it, the hunting and the gathering and the cooking.
Yeah.
We used to, however, in my reflection of this, it was the era, I guess, where women joined the workforce and began to feel like they're too busy and it's not important to get in the kitchen, and we need to find alternatives for that. And that's when the chemical revolution occurred, where preservatives and colours and flavours and quick things, just shove in the oven, pop in the microwave, just get it on the go, started to really filter out there, right? And then it was all about fast. It was like, if it takes more than 5 minutes, it's too long.
Yeah.
So that's like pushing it back. And around the same time, this is not only the chemical revolution, but also the development of that wheat grain and the food pyramid. We were just like really effed up. So, and then here we are having to stupidly educate people on food. Because so funny, my grandma one time, I just like paused for a second because it's the first time I've spoken to her on a podcast and she's passed since, not that long ago. So I'm in my head, I'm going, hey, Grandma.
Oh, cute.
She was confused about what I do, like nutrition. She's like, why do you do what you do?
Nutrition.
Yeah. And she's like, why? How does it work? What happens? And the reason she is confused about that is because it didn't matter because food was food. They ate seasonally. They didn't have all the brainwashing, mind effing opinions out there. They were more intuitive. They trusted their body more. And then it just eventuated into this shitstorm that we've got, right?
Mm.
So if people like feel like it's their fault or they're failing, it's not their fault at all. It is industry, the food industry, the health industry, if you would want to call it. Yeah, I guess it's just about beginning to trust your body more. My biggest inspiration is also culture and tradition. So always, I really try not get caught up on the newest thing because 30 years from now, what are we going to find out? And of course, I do dabble in those things. Like I'm also human and get brainwashed too. But in like what I'm thinking about is, for example, synthetic vitamin C, like folic acid that people used in pregnancy. I didn't get into that, but that's just one example.
Mm.
It's just about, trying to trust that culture and tradition and go, well, what did they do? Whilst again combining it with the new beautiful knowledge that we do have today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then talk to me about how in 2020 Foraged For You came about and the market space that you saw that was needed and that journey.
Yeah, okay.
The business side.
Yeah, so that was a completely different and new journey eventuating into that because I had been in the gut health space, supporting the immune system space and healing, kind of like becoming a normal human type space. And then I fell pregnant and it was an unexpected pregnancy. So I was like, oh my God, whoa, I need to start thinking about this immediately. And so I would speak to different people and leaders in the field and they were like, oh, just take this prenatal. It's just a bunch of things, covers your needs. I'd went to the doctor and whilst that prenatal would be better forms of synthetic nutrients, I still just felt iffy about it. And I went to the standard doctor just to confirm the pregnancy and they're like, make sure you're having folic acid. Do you know about folic acid? Probably not.
I know that it's recommended for
pregnancy. Yeah. Do you know to not have it? I know you won't. But like,
no, I mean, my partner Michelle's, we're expecting. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. So she probably knows because she's a forager.
She's a forager, yeah.
So she probably knows not to have folic acid.
Right.
But yeah, so classically you would go to a doctor and they would say, well, make sure you're having folic acid. And if you Google the first, like, what should I have in my pregnancy, it would definitely be like, you need to have folic acid. But however, what we learnt 30 to 50 years or maybe even sooner, of course, we just don't find out sooner or it doesn't filter out that information. But we know it doesn't metabolize well at all in pregnant women. But anyway, so going back to my journey. So that's what I personally was faced with. And I was like, oh, I'm a nutritionist and I'm being faced with these kind of like confusing, like things that don't feel right. So that's really interesting, first of all. And then it was, well, what am I going to do? So I chose to source all these different foods from everywhere, different companies, high quality foods. And it's so things that could provide my body and the baby with nutrients more safe in my mind and my heart that felt comfortable. Because I guess I'd just seen too much by that point, It's just like, oh, now we know that about that nutrient. Now we know this about that nutrient or that food or whatever. So I was just iffy. And then so it was things like liver, kelp for iodine, chlorella for folate and other micronutrients, fermented-based probiotics, like food-based probiotics.
This exploration phase is just for you, or are you?
That was just for me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then I was the first out of my friends to fall pregnant, so I was then supporting them, going, yeah, you get this from that, blah, 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 blah.
I've got the list.
Yeah. And it was annoying, and overwhelming, and you'd run out of one thing and then like blah, blah, blah. And you panic in pregnancy because it's like, oh my God, if I don't have that today, am I going to be murdering my baby or myself? I don't know that penny drop moment where I just was like, this needs to happen. However, I was searching for something that was a little bit more natural and there would always be something in there that I was like, oh, I don't feel right about that. So I developed it myself and I went literally like it felt like an out-of-body experience in this development phase where it was just like head down. I had Malachi at that point, like because I had him, and so he was like between 0 and 1 when I was developing this, and don't know how I did it, but I did. I would do yoga nidra meditations, and that's because I was so exhausted from just waking up all night.
Parenting, yeah.
Yeah, and in those meditations, I would just always find answers somehow, in the sense of I would come up to roadblocks. I'd be like, no, I can't do that. All right, well, what am I going to do instead? And I would sit on it for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. And then it would be like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. Blah, 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 keep going. Or I'd be told no one's going to have that, and it's just like, oh, well, what am I going to do now? Yeah, so many. Or like, okay, I want to put that food in there, but.
Because you had no experience prior to that in terms of production or mass producing
products?
Well,
I worked for a company that did develop products.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't develop them myself. However, I was a nutritionist for them, and yeah, that was it. Yeah, so I guess I had that little bit of background, which was really helpful, and some connections there, which was nice.
Got it.
And yeah, and then so the launch of it just sold out within seconds. Well, the first batch sold within 24 hours, and then I would use that. I just looked at my finances there, because I know you used that kind of side stuff too.
Yeah.
I looked at it not as mine, and I don't know who told me this, but I really valued the advice where they said, when you start a business, try not to see it as your own, it's the business's, and you just reinvest. So I think it was at least a year. I could have taken finances from it, but it was probably actually a few months. And then someone bought into the business it was not a very good decision, to be honest.
You brought in capital.
Yeah, it was definitely a rookie.
Well, talk to me about that. What made you decide?
Because I was in a very vulnerable position. I was about to have my second baby.
Okay.
So, because the launch of it, he bought in at around 8 months.
Okay.
Maybe not even. It was so fresh.
Yep.
But it was just out of control, keeping up with it.
How did you put a value on that?
Well, at this point, I'm not a businesswoman. I have no idea what I'm doing. I learned a lot through this process, and it was I'd say, up there with the most stressful thing I've ever gone through in my life. He just put and then to get him out was that was the stressful part. Yeah, and then also just every decision in my business life has always been very intuitive, and it's annoying for my team because I decide things almost the day. Yeah. If I'm, I said,
we're doing this now.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, but every order needs a blah.
Yeah.
Or we're doing a sale now.
Yeah. But it wasn't there for this, or it was?
When he was in there, it was just sickening. I felt like I couldn't make my own decision. I felt sick, to suggest anything, to question anything. And I would say, so vulnerable. I was never doing enough, even though I was in labour, or had just had Xander, my second, in hospital working. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a horrible decision, terrible, but learnt a lot. But yeah, to then when he was leaving, it's very personal. Hopefully he never listens to this. But
he'll listen to our release tape though of our rep.
Yeah, that's okay. But yeah,
how long was he there for?
I think that was 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah, that was maybe something around that, and he wanted a lot of money to be removed from the business. It was disgusting. I was it was just how dare you kind of thing.
Obviously a fair multiple of what he put in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, at least 10 times. At least.
Oh, my gosh.
At least. Yeah. Yeah, disgusting.
Was it a 50-50 at the time when he came in?
30, 70.
70.
Yeah.
To him, 70 to you?
Yes.
Wow, so he had 30%. He was a minority.
Yeah.
And he still treated, that's awful.
Yeah, couldn't make decisions. It was just so frustrating. I guess it was also just male-female type situation there. I guess maybe he felt he shouldn't have a female making decisions potentially. I don't know.
But awful for you to feel that way in that period of time. I mean, obviously with Xander as well, but to have that feeling about, because Forage almost becomes your third child.
Oh, totally,
and then to have someone in and then you not feeling like you can make the decisions or
Yeah.
have control of your own baby.
Yeah.
Really hard, right?
Yeah. And it's such a loving business too. Like,
Yeah, positive.
so positive. The people are just like, we all get each other, you know,
Yeah.
like we're all human. And that's how, like, I just didn't see it like, and I still don't like business. It's very shocking to me that it is a business. And then when there's other elements that slip in that so feel wrong, it's just like, nah, people are going to read this from a mile away.
Mm.
Yeah. So that was that journey.
So you got him out.
Got him out, yeah. And that was perfect because my husband at the time was really not liking his job. And I was like, well, I'm left here with 2 children and getting my friends to help me pack orders. And he hated his job. He was leaving at 7, coming home at 7. I was very overwhelmed. And so he was like, cool. I was like, I need help. Let's go. And it has felt so good since.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
in-house.
Yeah. Like, you know, when you like gut is just like, you know, you can actually like voice things.
Yeah. I think generally people should trust their intuition more as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Totally.
how often is the story, I should have trusted the way that I was feeling about that situation, or, you know, I went with my gut, and it rarely pans out negatively.
Yeah, in hindsight, it took me a good few weeks to get back to him on the decision of, because he approached me, the business partner.
To go in or to go out?
To go in.
Right.
It took me a good few weeks to actually reply. Well, I replied, but, you know, I'm going to have to think about this. And that thinking process should have been my answer.
Yeah.
So silly.
I don't know who said it, but it was like, if it's not a fuck yeah,
yes,
it's a no.
I was thinking that too.
You know, if you're not jumping up and down, then there needs to be due diligence on all things. But if it doesn't light you up,
we've got to be reminded of that way more. Hey,
yeah. But in saying that as well, like as you said, if without that experience you're a different person and you're not the person you are now.
Yeah, I wouldn't know a lot.
Yeah,
yeah.
I loved also your approach, viewing the growth of the business in the way you see it, as the customers worldwide and growing that.
Yeah.
And the impact.
Yeah.
Rather than the P&L or what that would look like.
Totally. Yeah. So when I think of goals, visions for the business, it is almost never a dollar value, a number, just anything like that. It is purely, and I guess we could talk about like someone's version of success there. Mine is certainly like more of a feeling. So if I'm to reach a certain point, whether you want to call it a goal or not, it's more of like a feeling in a sense of reviews, it reaching more and more people, hearing about how they feel, that they're pregnant and after trying for many years. It's just making them feel good. That to me is like definitely like cool. That feels good, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, everything is led by, of course, what I feel would benefit the customer over anything else, not us.
Yeah.
So, and I think as soon as you think about like what benefits us over the customer, it's going to be led in the wrong direction and probably not a successful one. Because if I was to think about finances, like I would have followed the crowd of putting flavors, fillers, using shittier ingredients. People don't even know where their dollar is going with Foraged in the sense of why it's better than that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for example, camu camu, an ingredient in Foraged for vitamin C. I could go one that's a third of the price, but I choose not to because this other one that we've got is way higher vitamin C, way higher antioxidant count. You know, so I'm literally thinking about the customer and myself as a customer over anything else. Yeah, that's how that's how I want to move forward forever, hopefully.
Well, yeah, as I said, Michelle loves it. And other than the first trimester where she couldn't touch it.
Yeah.
Or to be fair to her,
she
couldn't touch anything. Yes. I don't think, how long has that been going on for?
Oh, yeah, not a huge amount of time.
Yeah, but it's incredible to see. And that's where I first came across Forage before I came across yourself. And I thought, I loved that approach of finding it's like high performance
Yep.
in a business, right? I'm going to find the very, very best because that's the client. I'm not trying to be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be, this is the product because it's I believe in it.
Yeah.
It's the best it possibly can be.
The right people will hopefully see it.
Exactly. And the people who your clan, your customer base are you. So let's I don't want to be anything less than that.
Yeah. And I feel the benefits, which is so cool. Like I am so grateful for it myself.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, I feel like it's a hack. You know, like I hate the term, like I don't hate it, but like biohacking, but it's like, it's just so helpful.
Yeah.
You know, it just ticks off so many boxes for me and for others. Like I literally personally double dose so many times. Like
you probably have some sort of discount code though for yourself.
Yeah. Seriously, I get concerned about others. I'm like, wow, they must go through it so fast because I go through it so fast. I'm like, how do people keep up with their own demand?
Well, that's why there's a subscription, right? So
yes,
you can get it to your door all the time.
Some people get it every 3 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm like, I get it. I probably would too.
Yeah. And you mentioned biohacking, but let's say everyone's deals with stress, trauma, challenging moments, anxiety, and that's just part of life.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly for you with that business partner, that would have been a very stressful moment, right? And I think it's fair to say that when you are in that environment, the non-negotiables that should be staying or should be doubling down and going, I need to double down on my intake of this vitamin or this nutrient, or I need to exercise more than I do normally because it's so stressful. Usually it goes by the wayside. And when we're stressed, you go, oh, I'm just going to have Maccas for dinner because I'm too stressed. Or I can't walk this morning or tonight because I've got too much work.
Yeah.
What is the biohacking, for better or for worse of a name, things that we can do as humans, as business people striving for success to make the clarity, to make it easier for us?
Yeah, love this topic. And I think it needs to be talked about way more in depth. So during stress, our body mops up nutrients. So think of it like, I don't know, a barrel of water, and then that barrel experiences some stress, and then it gets a hole at the bottom of the barrel and it starts to leak. It's kind of like that, I guess. And our body, it's because our body really utilizes so many nutrients in the process to increase our heart rate, to put blood where it needs it most in that moment. Okay, so our brain, our extremities, our legs, and that's to pump, like think quicker, move faster, etc. So that's the stress mode, and it shunts energy away from your digestive system because it's like, I have got no time to do that right now. I need to do other things. And that's also the same with reproductive organs as well. So that's why stress impacts our hormones dramatically. Women and men, both, stress really impacts that. And of course, hopefully we have generally an idea of what impact on our hormones could have on our body. And it doesn't mean it's just about fertility. It's about, your mental health, your sleep patterns, blah, 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 blah. So ways in which we can support ourselves during that time is what we're saying there is we need more. We need more nourishment. We need more fuel. We need more water for that barrel because it's like running out dramatically. So things like that really will support us, particularly is magnesium. So magnesium is like our calming nutrient, but we use so much of it during times of stress. So that's why we need to focus on increasing that when we're going through stressful periods. The other thing we really use a lot of is vitamin C. So, by the way, these are things not to support us. This is just to keep us as humans. Yeah. But I'll get to support as well. But vitamin C, our adrenal glands that pump out cortisol in times of stress, uses a lot of vitamin C as well. So we're really becoming depleted in that. So it's really great to try and have as much vitamin C as we can, particularly or preferably through food. But to keep our A game, like I guess calm but also sane, I really like adaptogens, for example. So adaptogens are things like ashwagandha, reishi. They're probably my 2 absolute favorites, where it really helps support the balancing of your cortisol levels. So it helps your response to stress. So say if you're in a stressful period and you go, oh, I'm going to go for the Maccas or not go for that walk, you're actually going to be more stressed the next time you are faced with something. So say if you didn't do what, makes you feel good, the next day you could snap, you could not think clearly, you're going to make rash decisions, and you could have a panic attack. Like literally, this is what it can lead to. It can lead to people having dramatic responses to the stress or a heart attack. You could go that far. I know that's really hectic, but it's like this silent little sneaky thing going in the background where you don't realize the impact on your health.
Yeah.
Until your body really screams at you. But yeah, so adaptogens can really help. But of course, like I said, like that eating better in general, so making those better decisions, fats and proteins to me are like paramount. Like they're just so important, particularly for breakfast. So if you're going through a stressful period, just make sure your breakfast is really great, like hefty. Make it like your main meal.
Yeah.
When it comes to, say, if you want your brain to be like more on, and again, you're using more of these nutrients all the time, but like B vitamins, so liver, iodine is incredible for clarity, which is kelp. Like that's why I've got kelp in Foraged, a good dose of iodine. A lot of us are depleted in that. That really increases your energy. So of course, when we are, and same with the B vitamins, like the B12, liver for that.
You got a non-meat option there.
Oh, soz.
I've been vegetarian for 15
sorry.
years. That's why there's only
you
one.
don't have Forage,
No,
do you
I
then?
don't.
No.
There's only one person in the house that has it.
Good question. Tricky.
Come back to me.
No.
Great.
Okay.
Good to know. But on a side, I did the same process with the gluten.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So I had a drunken bet with a friend when I was in my 20s. And that was for 6 months. So I was like, and I was competing as an athlete at that time, and it was for a 6-month bet. And at the end of that, I felt better without it. So I just kept
going.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't identify it.
Yeah.
I always forget when I'm on a plane to.
Oh, really?
To
it's
say,
just your normal.
Or even like going to lunches with, you know, with functions. I always
So
forget to tick that I'm a bit, dietary comment, I got nothing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot.
That is so funny.
But.
Okay, so I don't mean no as in straight up no, but I kind of do in a sense. No, so what do you eat? Like, are you full, like what, do you eat eggs?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't do the vegan bit.
Do you do fish?
Occasionally.
Yeah, okay. So I would so the most absorbable and usable form of B12 is definitely in those sources.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you can do, like what they say is in plants is certainly not as usable at all in comparison. Yeah, I would just really strongly rely on those sources.
On a business level, there's obviously a lot of people who are as passionate as you are with healthy, clean eating, but have gone the vegan route.
Yeah.
Are we looking at them? Are you saying that's just not us?
Well, to be honest, I'd say they will likely switch over. Like I'd say majority of vegans that I know in the field, they've all started eating meat again. Yeah. Yeah,
but if it comes from a place of
compassion, like an empathy, that's tricky. You can come at a cost.
Sure. And that's a point for them, right? That's a matter for them.
Exactly. Yeah. And like that's the truth. And I see it like when I was consulting, I've got people consulting for me now. I would see it in clients. Like it's so, because if you think about the main nutrients, basically it's great that you eat eggies and stuff because that's like filling a gap that they don't have. Yeah.
Every breakfast.
Yeah. Amazing. So the truth is that the nutrients that humans are classically really depleted in are in meats. Or like, it can be fish and eggs, etc. So, for example, zinc, iron, B vitamins, they're the top ones. Where it's like if someone's most likely going to be deficient in one of those, and it's like, well, if you want to top that up, the main options are going to be meats or like animal proteins, whether it be eggs, fish, beef, lamb, whatever. It's just easy. It's just an easier option for the body and to seek out. And yeah.
Okay.
Iron would definitely be in that bracket of making sure someone's got that energy. So if someone's like going through, I know we're talking about stress, but I'm trying to also coincide it with like how you might feel in your business in general or in your life. You wanted to continue to feel as best as you can possibly feel. If you are feeling super fatigued, dizzy, wanting to sleep all the time, just not great, then that can be not great iron metabolism. So low iron. And so I say iron metabolism now. I don't say iron deficiency because sometimes someone might have enough iron or be eating enough iron, but they might not have.
Not absorbing it.
Yeah, not absorbing it or using it properly or putting it in the right places. And for that, I know it's getting very complex now, but we need cofactors for those things like other nutrients. So for example, that's why I'm so obsessed with getting nutrients from food because generally we have those cofactors in there. So if someone was to go supplement with an iron supplement, they're not getting those really important cofactors that nature would have hopefully provided for them.
Because you need zinc with vitamin C?
Iron and vitamin C?
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so that goes really well. Also even magnesium can be really helpful. Copper can be really helpful. Vitamin A is really great. Right. So that's why, for example, liver, sorry, just pretend.
Right. Yeah.
Just forget about it again.
Yeah, okay. It's just a tablet.
Yeah. There's iron in there. It's one of the richest sources of iron, but it's also got a whopping dose of vitamin A in there.
Okay.
So that's why it can really help people's iron levels because it's helping their iron metabolism. Anyway, that's getting a bit complex.
No. I love that. But I think the general gist of it, as I see it, is that we all have untapped potential.
Totally. I love that. I would also like to say the things we also need during these times, of course, yes, I've covered the food and nutrition side of things and like the adaptogens, like I said, but not forgetting how much your body is also topped up via things like the old classic grounding, connecting with the earth. It literally is proven to reduce our cortisol levels, connection with sunshine, laughing, switching the heck off, like get off that freaking phone, for example, like you have in the last month or so.
Yeah.
It's just like don't just rely on your nutrition and how you're nourishing yourself. Like those sorts of things really dictate how we feel and how our brain is going to cope because I could go on for that.
Yeah.
I could go on and on.
But it's like it's this taking stock of everything that's coming in and out of your system from what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're seeing, the people around you, the food you're eating, like we discussed today, the hydration, the grounding, the time for yourself, all of those sort of things, and taking ownership that you have control of all of it, right? So to your point, back in your 20s, you had all these little symptoms and that were to their own degree debilitating, but it's not just, oh, well, I'm just going to the doctor and they will give me more things to take to mask the issue.
Yeah.
It's to say, actually, I have more control than I thought I had of what I should be consuming. And maybe the appropriate response is, let's get our house in order, as in ourselves, making sure that if we're not right 100% mentally, then let's take a stock as to what's causing it.
Yeah.
And then with the food and with all of those things, and then we go, all right, there is nothing else. Like we are at right now for the next month, I am going to do, and it's a lot because there are a lot of factors, but take ownership of that and to say, I'm going to do that. And then if I still have symptoms after I've checked my house and it's perfect, then sure.
Yeah.
Goes,
Yeah, exactly.
Then you probably do need to see alternative help. But it is such a response of problem Band-Aid rather than problem, what's the root cause of that?
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge part.
Yeah. And also just like knowing the hardest route. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this, but it's just like it is in your mind hard to do those things, like hard to eat well, hard to get the sun, hard to go outside, hard to drink the good water. But it's actually making things way easier. Yep. Like it is making things easier.
Yeah.
Just do it and stop letting things get in the way of it because you're going to be faced with so many moments where it's going to be hard or feel hard, but it's like shut up, get through that mind block and just do it.
Yeah.
Just like get up from the chair and do it.
Yeah. Oh, no, I totally,
Yeah.
I'm with you there. And it's to understand that the sacrifice creates the value. So you say, okay, that's going to be harder than going to the doctors,
Yeah.
but
Yes, my 3 emails can sit there waiting.
yeah.
Like they'll be all right.
Yeah, someone doesn't need a phone. I don't need to post this or check that or whatever the situation is over and above my own health.
Exactly.
And just taking ownership of that, I think, is a huge bit.
Yeah. I'm constantly on my like team's case. Like when they're with me, I'm just like, you haven't drank any water. Like, mate, come on. You need to go have a break.
Yeah.
Like,
and I also think that people, like the general humans, the species, ideally, we want structure. We want discipline. It provides value. It provides purpose. And if we said, okay, well, my morning looks like this, or these are the non-negotiables in a day, you're like, you've got a sense of like control.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like, if you don't have any parameters, you're like, well, I'm eating anything now, or I don't need to drink, or I'll,
it makes it so much easier. Like when you make that 100% decision,
correct.
It's so much easier. It sounds harder. And again, it's just like whether you want to go outside or sit on your computer. I know it seems harder to go outside, but it's actually going to be easier. But like it's also easier to just, and it's not like a fanatical or an obsessive or a stress kind of feeling around making these 100% decisions. It's actually just so much more peaceful because you're not in this in between going,
do I, don't I?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, no, it's so much easier. Yeah. And I guess on that note, my non-negotiables, I guess, would be, the gluten-free. For a period of time for my healing, I did avoid dairy, but now I tolerate it so much better. And I would say filtered water, is a huge thing for me. I really notice a difference. Sunshine, we've got to think about that as a food. But of course, like the protein for me is so important. That's what makes me thrive, particularly in a morning. Like I'm like, I need that good protein brekkie.
I think the protein bit in the morning is a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
For the kids as well.
Yes. You can see it in their personalities.
100%. They're bloody turds
without
it for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, we fucked it.
Well, I mean, we grew up in a generation also where we were having, Fruit Loops and that was
Cocoa
Nutri-Grain,
Pops.
And that's your breakfast. It's got
low-fat
nice
milk.
and exactly, right?
Yeah.
And now
fortified iron.
Yeah, I'm so conscious of making sure that the kids have eggs on toast every single morning. Because then you can, actually, we just came back from Bali.
Yeah.
And Michelle and I, their buffet breakfast, really impressive buffet breakfast. And it was obviously a holiday treat. The kids loved it. There was everything you could imagine on the sweetness sides as well. But the position was you need to have some fruit and eggs on toast.
Yeah.
Albeit there was an omelette man that they could put an order in, so that was great. But have to have that.
Yeah.
Eat that.
Yeah.
And you
fantastic.
Whatever you want, right? We're on holidays. But there was still a position, right?
Yes.
Protein's killer.
Yeah, totally. And we need to do that for us too. We need to be the parents of our own selves.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say as well was my other non-negotiables, I guess, particularly within my own home. I guess if I go out, it's like a little bit like corn is also really heavily genetically modified. So I do try and like really watch that. Sorry.
No, you
corn
and
chips?
Michelle, man. Honestly, she doesn't touch corn.
Really?
But I don't even know that. Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you why? Nah. Nixtamalized corn. Anyway, you need to look for that. Michelle will like it too.
She's always positioned that it doesn't digest well.
No, it doesn't. But what does is nixtamalized corn.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just Google it.
Okay. Some homework.
Yeah.
Sheridan, this has been beautiful. Thank you so much for etching some time.
Pleasure.
Before you go, the Fast Five, which you haven't read, I think.
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous.
What does success mean to you?
Like I said earlier, the feeling that other people's success, I guess, like health success, like that feeling is really like, oh, cool. You know, that makes me feel like successful. And again, the reaching the more people. So how I'm going to do that, I don't know. Because I probably need to be a bit more savvy in business. That is success, reaching more and more people and making them feel better. So other people's results, essentially. The other thing is I think you've really made it when you have the opportunity to invest in your own health. You know, so many people don't have that access, that ability. So I think don't take it for granted and really value it. So it's not necessarily the physical things like, oh, I got my favorite like car or house or whatever, or the best school for the kids or anything like that. It's like, well, I think if we can invest back into our own family's health, my health, then that's great success, right?
Practically and like the education side, are you talking about? Or are you more talking about
Nah, like
practical?
eating well,
Yeah.
tools that you can use to advance your health. And what if you got unwell and you needed to seek the best possible person in the world? Like, how cool is it that you can? Yeah. Or just like even our recent purchase of the sauna, like the best sauna that I could find. Like, that is so cool to be able to do that. I feel like, I guess that's my version of success. When you can invest back, I think that's pretty great.
What does happiness mean to you?
Mean to me? What do you mean to me?
What does, don't ask me a question back. I'm the host here.
It's a good question. Okay,
That's the first one, fine. What does, so the concept of happiness, what?
Freedom.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
I guess freedom. Being as present as possible. Yeah, I think presence and freedom.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You knew exactly what I was asking. Your most recommended book for someone to read?
Oh, okay. I might say Wheat Belly by Dr. William Davis. Because we've talked a lot about the gluten thing as well. I think it's a really good piece to allow someone to grasp that education on why.
Yeah.
And I guess it provides you on a little bit of how to remove that as well. But yeah.
Beautiful. 4 people you would invite to dinner, living or who have passed away, but not friends or family.
Yeah, that's really, really hard. Oh, what about, does it have to be an exact person? What about someone from an African tribe? That'd be cool. I want to ask them some questions about what they do and what they eat, what they practice, how they live, and why. And then maybe Joe Rogan. I think he's pretty, I think he'd be pretty cool to have at a dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
Will Farrell.
Sure. Yeah, laugh.
Love him. 4.
One more.
Beyonce. Let's go. Let's go Rihanna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Need some music anyway, don't you?
Yeah. We need someone in the background. So we've got the jokes, we've got the music happening, we've got
Joe can conduct the interview.
Yes,
with
exactly.
The person
he'll be the conversation starter.
From Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, love that.
It's
and
a
then
great dinner.
Finally, someone you think we should have on the show.
Oh.
Famous or otherwise.
On the show, what top?
Around success and happiness or around in your field. Just someone who's a good chat that you know.
First thing that I think of is Organic Olivia.
Okay.
Yeah. That's her Instagram. She's a business gun. She's got her own product line. She's into herbs. She'd be probably quite interesting. She has her own podcast herself, her own podcast. And I feel like, she'd just have a lot of nuggets.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sheridan, for coming on. It's been really fun.
Oh, no worries.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. Next time you're in the health food aisle of your local supermarket, let the person next to you know all about the show. Until next time, peace.